Good early afternoon. We are live. I'm Andy Andrews. You've joined us on the Blue Plate Special here from beautiful, rainy Orange Beach, Alabama. It's kind of raining out there, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, it kind of looked like it was. You know, the windows there are kind of, well, they're not kind of tinted. They are tinted, but it's hard to see through sometimes if they're raining. How are you guys doing? We're glad y'all are here. And Bernadine, hello. Sandy Atkins, hello. From El Salvador. Sandy, you're in El Salvador. You're an hour behind us. You knew I would ask that, didn't you? Dave Huco from Minnesota, 30-degree Minnesota. Dave Lardner in Phoenix. It's a dry, warm there today. Margaret Hawk. Hey, Margaret, you got here in what? What we got? Oh, we got guys for the studio audience. A lot of different countries. So, yeah, man, Margaret, the tornadoes in Mississippi and the tragedy in Nashville last night. Good grief, just crazy. So Jen says it poured in Savannah and then just stopped. Well, you know, it usually does stop after it pours. There was one time a guy with a boat full of animals got stuck in it for 40 days, but still stopped. Marcy Taylor, you like my shirt? You know, this shirt is not actually from our normal sponsor, who does Mr. Andrews Wardrobe, down here, $100 Lifestyles. I don't know why I was just going blank. I was thinking about this shirt. This is from Aunt Katie's Garden in Dothan, Alabama. And Bob Woodall and his buddies got me this shirt. And so I'm very, very happy to wear this. I've worn it several times around town. This is the first time I've worn it on the show. But Aunt Katie's Garden is figuring in the future of wisdomharbor.com. Bob is going to be doing some episodes from Aunt Katie's Garden. Bob is our big man grill cook on Wisdom Harbor. He's a contributor that does a lot of recipes that his mama did and his daddy did and his grandmama. And my boys are just crazy about the one he just recently did with fried cornbread. So they are fired up about that. We have in the studio today, Missouri. Where's Missouri? Missouri. Hey, Missouri. Anywhere near Branson? 4 miles? 4 hours. Okay, well, that's pretty near. I mean, kind of near. You could probably hear the music from 4 hours away, I'm thinking. Alabama, Ed. You're from Alabama? Where's Ed? From Alabama. Hey, Ed, from Alabama. Good to see you. And then Arkansas, we got Arkansans, a bunch of Arkansans. How are you doing? Do you want to move? I mean, you're like right where you just like, hey, I mean, feel free to move those chairs around. There you go. Let's see, the Indians from Indiana. Good to see you guys. I was talking to Gloria Gaither earlier. She's up there in Indiana. It's still cold in Indiana, isn't it? Good grief. We've got a fun show for you today. Gene Stefanko from Indiana. We are good on the Blue Plate Special at making fun of things, and today will be no different. We will make fun of the government. That's probably an easy target.
I'd like to start with asking how many coasters you got there.
Well, you know, there's a reason. 4. But there's a reason, because yesterday I had to glue my, my little thing on the back of the phone I had to glue it back on, and so during the blue plate, we were recording something yesterday. I had the top of the phone sitting there so that little disc would sit flat, and I just haven't moved them back over to the place. But
Extra protection for the piece table.
yeah, it's extra protection for the piece table. So anyway, okay, our U.S. national debt is now past $30 trillion. That's the debt. I've been listening to an audiobook called Ike's Bluff, and it's how President Eisenhower was very successful during the beginnings of the Cold War, bluffing the Soviets into doing things or not doing things, but one of the things he was very concerned about was going into debt. I mean, he just wasn't going to go. He wasn't going to go into debt. He was the governmental Dave Ramsey of his day, and both of them are kind of bald, and so I don't know. Maybe Eisenhower's in Dave's background somewhere, but in any case, he wasn't. So he would probably, if he wasn't already dead, he would probably die to know that we have 30 trillion. Now, let me ask the people in the studio audience, anybody in here, does anybody in here have a grasp on how much $1 trillion is? I mean, I kind of have a grasp on 1 million, and a billion is like, what, 1,000 million? Isn't that right? Mm. So I kind of have a grasp on 1 billion, even though I tell you, I just don't understand, like Bill Gates. I mean, he got $150 billion, and he's in court all the time because of, defending Microsoft with what is it, with a monopoly, saying that they're, and here's, if I had $150 billion, or like when I get $150 billion, let me just tell you what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to give $149 million just to the government or whoever. I'm just going to say, here, take $149 billion and don't ever call me again about anything. I don't ever want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. So just take the $149 billion. Then I'm going to keep $1 billion, because what can you do with $150 billion that you can't do with $1 billion? I mean, once you buy 3 or 4 airplanes, a helicopter, 10 boats, several houses around the world, what do you do with the rest of it? So I think it would be worth it just to give it to them and tell them, leave me alone. All right, so with the U.S. national debt now past $30 trillion, I did some research on what we're actually spending some of that money on, and here's what I found. All right. Harvard biologist turned a leaf blower, a wooden pole, and 40 lizards into a $75,000 payday. The National Science Foundation was claiming concern about worsening climate change-induced hurricanes. So they paid researchers to capture lizards and then put them on the stick and blow them with leaf blowers. And the scientists filmed these critters holding onto these sticks for their dear life in wind speeds up to 108 miles an hour, and they kept recording it as these lizards went flying off. And they have produced some wonderfully funny YouTube videos. You can see them. And plus, they've come up with a theory that bigger toes help lizards survive hurricanes. $75,000 for that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 30 trillion is our debt. So, empty buildings. Now, this is a weird one. It's, some old schools, some old firehouses, offices, and other stuff like that aren't being used anymore. But the government still holds on to them. I'll tell you how many in a minute. But these are unused buildings, and they're nationwide. And as of today, these buildings don't just sit there innocently, okay? Because even if they're empty, they have to have maintenance like basic power, their lawns mowed, pipes that won't freeze. And so these costs add up to the tune of about 1.7 billion every year. This is according to NPR. Because you know how many buildings that are unused that the government just is not getting rid of? 770,000 buildings. And it costs 1.7 billion a year to just keep them and keep them empty. And what was the debt again? Oh yeah, it's over 30 trillion. 30 trillion. Okay, we're having people write in and cuss now, okay? All right, how about this one? The Institute of Museum and Library Services gave the University of California, Santa Cruz, $615,000 to digitize its collection of tickets, photos, t-shirts, and other memorabilia of the Grateful Dead. So you can go online and you can view the online collection from the university's library site. 615 grand. All right, now I love this one. And what? 650, and what was the, 30 trillion. 30 trillion. That's what the debt, that's how much we're in debt. It's not the budget, that's how much we're in debt. Okay. This one, just kind of hold on to your seat so you don't like pop out at the glass in here. A Florida lab has accepted $477,000 from the federal government, and they are dosing male rhesus monkeys with female hormones so that they can turn them trans. And this experiment is funded by the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases. And they're wanting to figure out why male to female transgender humans suffer high level of HIV infections. Tick-a-lock. The people running it say that AIDS thrives in the margins of society, and no population is more affected by these social injustices than transgender persons. So you're going to do it to a monkey? And if you already know that, why are you doing it to the monkeys? I guess they just had an extra $600,000 just sitting around that they wanted to. Okay, how about this one? This is forgotten storage. So this is from the Treasury Inspector General, okay? and the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration found that the IRS spent quite a bit of money on unused items in storage. Okay, these are things that they own, they're not using, and they're storing. After accounting for the items that had been used within the past year and a half, the report estimated the IRS spent $862,000 in unnecessary warehouse space every year. See, that's kind of a double whammy for me. It's not just the government, it's the IRS. You know, that's kind of a double whammy for me. How about this one? This one will kill you. The International House of Pancakes got $500,000 from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to build an IHOP in a Washington, D.C. neighborhood. And this wasn't about members of Congress getting a new place to eat, a short stack. This initiative was done to create 70 full-time jobs for low-income workers. I mean, we need to figure out, like, what is 70 into 500 grand? You just could have just given them the money, you know, which already probably doing. Super Bowl ad. The Super Bowl, as you know, takes the crown for the most watched program in the United States every year. And so it's no surprise that even a short ad costs a lot of money. So the U.S. Census Bureau bought a 30-second ad for $2.5 million in taxpayer money. The Census Bureau. I mean, I don't even know what to say. How about this one? The National Comedy Center in Jamestown, New York. Who knew there was a National Comedy Center? But if you ever wonder where the National Comedy Center is, it's in Jamestown, New York. They received $4.3 million from New York State, plus another $1.7 million from the federal government. And this museum is featuring a look back at influential comedians, and they're making holograms showing these comedians. Did anybody ever think about just like going on YouTube? I mean, you can go on YouTube for free. So, all right, now we have a very special, we're breaking. I've still got like 3 more, okay, but we're taking a break because we want to answer a question for you. You know, the debt, not the budget, but the national debt is over $30 trillion. Now, if you're familiar with wisdomharbor.com, but you're not a member of this streaming service yet, come on. It's cheap. This is the greatest conversation connector with parents and young people, with teachers and their students, with people at work. This is a relationship connector, man. This is 20 different subjects that are delivered by Grammy winners, comedians, real comedians, not hologram comedians, chefs, coaches, CEOs, and this it's going into schools all over, and it's cheap. I mean, a teacher for an entire year is $27. Okay, and so, but that's for you too, and for your whole family, it's like $50-something for a year, up to 8 devices. But we thought because one of the docks in Wisdom Harbor is called the Bet You Didn't Know dock, and it's geared toward history and science and biology and civics and something they don't teach in school anymore. And so we had one that fit today, and we thought that we would show you. And this particular Bet You Didn't Know is one of a bunch of Bet You Didn't Knows that are all over the map, but this one is how much is a trillion? So this, you'll get an idea of how these things are done, what the streaming service is about, and you'll get to see how much is a trillion, because our debt is over 30 trillion. Okay, so Matt, can you roll this how much is a trillion from wisdomharbor.com? Bet you didn't know that 1 trillion ants would weigh more than 3,000 tons. It's true, and we can thank mathematicians for figuring that out. Of course, it would have had to have been mathematicians. Where would we have found a scale to do it? And even if we could have found a scale, how would we get 1 trillion ants to stand still long enough to be weighed? You know, 1 trillion is not a number you and I are used to considering. In fact, until I was an adult, I'm not sure I even heard the word. If I did, it was probably a term one of my buddies used in the 5th grade, and I feel quite sure it was not used correctly. If my memory serves, 1 trillion was just a random number one threw out on the playground to illustrate how much better our team was than your team. How much better? Oh, 1 trillion times better. The only numbers higher than 1 trillion were a triple T-trillion, otherwise known as a cryillion. Then, of course, was the zillion, and 10 times that, the bazillion. Then I grew up and realized there really was a number called 1 trillion. Still, it wasn't a number that was used very often. In fact, it seemed I only heard that word when the government was announcing a bailout or a stimulus package. Not that it really mattered. I didn't have a clue how much 1 trillion was anyway. But now I can explain it. And in just a few minutes, you and I will both have a clue. You know, whether it's $1 million, $1 billion, $100 billion, $800 billion, or $1 trillion, these numbers are tossed around like juggling balls. So I thought we'd take the time to get a sense of exactly what these numbers look like. We'll start with a $100 bill. With Benjamin Franklin on its face, the 100 is currently the largest U.S. denomination still in general circulation. Most everyone has seen one, if only coming out of somebody else's pocket. A bundle of $100 bills, as they are wrapped by the bank, is less than 1/2 inch thick and contains $10,000. That $10,000 fits easily in your pocket and is enough to buy 2,386 Burger King Whoppers. Now, $1 million is 100 packets of 10,000. It makes a nice little pile that you could stuff into a small duffel bag and walk around with. $1 million in hundreds weighs 22 pounds. And with $1 million, you could buy 22,291 pairs of Levi's 501 jeans. 1 million is a 1 with 6 zeros after it. 1 million is 1,000 thousands. 1 million pennies stacked on top of each other would make a tower nearly a mile high. If you earn $45,000 a year and saved every bit of it, it'd take 22 years to amass a fortune of $1 million. Oh, and 1 million ants would weigh a little over 6 pounds. $100 million is a little more respectable than a mere million. $100 million in $100 bills would fit neatly on a standard pallet. And with $100 million, you could buy 10 suites on a Holland America cruise ship, take your friends and family, and live full-time cruising around the world for 387 years. How about $1 billion? Now we're really getting somewhere. 1 billion is a 1 with 9 zeros after it. A billion is 1,000 millions. A billion pennies stacked on top of each other would make a tower almost 870 miles high. If you earned $45,000 a year and saved it all, it would take you 22,000 years to put $1 billion in the bank. And 1 billion ants would weigh over 3 tons, a little less than the weight of an elephant. With $1 billion, you could buy 140 Cessna Citation jets and still have money left over to buy the airport. And finally, let's examine $1 trillion. That's the number we've been hearing so much about. What is $1 trillion? Well, it's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. It's a million. It's 1,000 billion. $1 trillion is 2/3 of all the paper money in existence at one time. And this is what it would look like. $1 trillion would fill 10,000 pallets of $100 bills. They could be stacked 2 pallets high and cover 2.2 acres of land. So the next time you hear some government worker talking about America borrowing $1 trillion to give away, that's what they're talking about. $1 trillion is a 1 with 12 zeros after it. $1 trillion is 1,000 billions, or 1 million millions. 1 trillion pennies stacked on top of each other would make a tower about 870,000 miles high, the same distance obtained by going to the moon, back to Earth, and then back to the moon again. And of course, as you already know, 1 trillion ants would weigh more than 3,000 tons. As a quick recap, let's check out the numbers in seconds. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. 1 trillion seconds would stretch from 29,679 BC until now, roughly 24,000 years before the earliest civilizations began to take shape. In other words, 1 trillion seconds would last 31,688 years. Bet you didn't know that. Man, when I watch that again, it kills me all over again. I wonder if the people who are getting us in debt by $30 trillion, I wonder if they have a clue what that actually is. I just wonder. So, Anyway, so we've got a national debt of over $30 trillion. And what are we doing with it? Well, here we go. I've got three more. The Pentagon was criticized for spending 28 million, and this one really gets me. This one just gets me on a couple of levels. They spent $28 million on licensing fees for the lush green camo patterns for Afghan National Army uniforms. Okay, so we bought the Afghan Army uniforms, and forget how much the uniforms cost. The government paid $28 million in licensing fees for the camo. All right, now two problems here. Number one, if you saw the camo, Afghanistan is 98% desert. So they made these lush green colors and they stand out. It's not like camo. It's standing out. But here is the other thing, and this is what really bugs me. I'm friends with the Mossy Oak guys and the Realtree guys. I don't know a couple of other people that have camo companies, but I'm friends with the Jordans, and I'm friends with Toxie Hayes and Bill Sugg and those guys. And you know, those guys don't even make the camo anymore. They only license it because they just, like, every year go into the computer and create another pattern and put their brand on it, and they license it. And I know it was several years ago that Mossy Oak went over $1 billion in stuff that had been licensed, okay? But so when you think about it, and I understand why people buy Mossy Oak and why people buy Realtree. I mean, you get a loyalty for the brand. You're a hunter. You're an outdoorsman. You're getting that. But what you're using it for, turkey and deer and all like that, I mean, they're not looking at the brand, right? I mean, you know, they're just like, you're just trying not to be seen. And so you wouldn't really have to pay as much to have branded stuff. And my point is, when the government is buying camo, especially camo for somebody else, just go in a computer and create a pattern and print it out and save $28 million. I mean, you're paying $28 million in licensing fees for branded camo? It's just insane. That's just insane. So, you know, pick a different color, maybe. And you know, if you read about it, the government already has the rights to other brands of camo that they could have used, and the numbers say it would have saved the taxpayers between $68.6 and $71.2 million over the course of a decade. All right. Here's second to the last one. We paid hipsters, and that's what they called them, hipsters, to stop smoking. The National Institute of Health figured that anti-smoking ads weren't resonating with young adults, so they decided to go straight to the source. hipsters is what they called them. And this was called the Commune Project. And they called these people hipsters. This was a group of people that they targeted. They were focused on alternative music, local artists and designers, and eclectic self-expression. And so this campaign spent $5 million in federal cash on branded beer koozies and other swag, and held smoke-free events featuring independent bands, artists design flyers, and more stuff like that. And so another initiative there in that involved paying the hipster smokers $100 to kick the habit and blog about quitting. So the hope was that these influencers would spread the anti-smoking message to their friends and make smoking uncool. Who are these people? I mean, the only thing I can figure out is if you're spending $5 million on that, you have just figured out a way to spend $4 million and keep $1 million. That's the only thing I can figure out. Because how would you with a straight face tell somebody we're going to spend $5 million and we're going to have anti-smoking concerts and that's going to make people stop smoking? Ron Reams, where are you when we need the news done? All right, here's the last one. And this one, just get ready to have the top of your head blow off. Okay, just get ready. The National Institute of Health. How much money was this? Roll back just a little bit. It was $800,000. Okay, the National Institute of Health was given $800,000 to study the significance of a genital washing program on South African men. Now I'm saying, if you're going to study genital washing for $800,000, I think you should stick to your own genitals. Or at least the genitals in your own country. Okay, here's a bonus one. For more than 20 years this has been going on. Northwestern University researchers have received National Institute of Health money to watch hamster fights. They have received more than $3 million. And some of those experiments involved injecting hamsters with steroids and then putting another hamster in the cage to see if the roid rage would make them more aggressive when protecting their territory. And other stuff investigated whether they would take 2 weeks to train a hamster. And so they were seeing if 2 weeks of face-offs with a trained hamster made them more aggressive. Okay, my head is just going to blow off the top of it. This is why I don't watch the news. This is why I don't watch the news. And they arrest people for cockfighting. You're right. They do. But you can put some hamsters in there and fight them up. Amy Paget says, always gray and stormy and destined. This adds to my headache. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Usually the Blue Plate Special is something that will relax you. But, hey, you got to see how much is a trillion. So that added to your knowledge. And Yeah, they probably do play. Jen Andrews says they probably play the theme from Rocky when those hamsters are going at it. Dun, 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 pa. Yep, little hamsters. I'll tell you a hamster story, then we're gone. So, several years ago, one of our friends' little kids had a hamster and it got sick. And they kept waiting for this hamster. And the kid was like 6 years old. They kept waiting for this hamster to die. And he was just like not dying. And it was being just like, it was getting to be horrific because every day this kid would come home from kindergarten or first grade or whatever it was and go, you know, is Puffy dead? No, Puffy's still alive. Yeah, I mean, every day in this hamster. And so finally, Mark and Wanda, you know, they see, okay, the hamster's dead. Okay, finally. So Mark takes the hamster out and he's going to dig a hole and bury the hamster. And so he digs the hole and he looks and the hamster's moving. So Mark hits it with a shovel and then buries it. Now, you know, do you have these friends? Do you have friends that they just can't, you know, they can't lie about nothing? You know, I mean, where a lie would be okay. It's like, you know, it's like, why'd you tell me this, right? I mean, just tell me nothing happened. But that's the way Wanda is. Okay, I mean, she is just like this gentle spirit. And so the kid comes home from school. Is this Puffy still alive? No, Puffy died. Is he sick? Yeah, he was sick. He was sick. Did he die because he was sick? Well, Daddy hit him with a shovel. And is he what? Yeah, Daddy hit him with the shovel. He was gonna die. Okay, so now go ahead for like 6 months. Their goldfish died while the kid was at school. And so the kid comes home from school, you know, where's Charlie, the goldfish? Well, he died and we had to flush him down the toilet. But he died. So, did Daddy hit him with a shovel? I just think that is so funny. Yeah, he just put the shovel down in the bowl and swished it around. Oh my gosh. All right, well, we will see you guys again on Thursday. Thank you guys in the studio audience for being here today. I'm sorry you have to go out in the rain. And you don't. You can stay here all day as far as we're concerned. You know, you can put a little pallet over here and take a nap. Whatever you want, but we're glad you're here. Monica Early, our protocol officer, contributor with Wisdom Harbor. And don't forget, you guys, join Wisdom Harbor, join the streaming service, come on now, and pass the word around. We'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.